Peace Collective. Today we're talking about sexual energy. It's our creative force. And are you abusing it? Let's get right into it. So, the first card that came out, because this is a message and I knew what I wanted to talk about, but we still got to pull cards, is bedroom. Okay. And this insight has been coming to me because there's been a lot of wounding that I've been dealing with, working on healing, and traumas that have had to come up in order to be, addressed. And a lot of wounding has been with men in the past. So, the bedroom, a lot of people are using it as an escapist tool, right? They're using whether, it's intimacy with someone else, or even masturbation, self pleasure. They're using it from a standpoint of processing their traumas, their wounding, even emotional regulation, right? When someone gets really frustrated and they don't know how to deal with the issue at hand, right? They feel like it's too much. They feel like they're going to, either snap or it's overwhelming. They go look for a sense of release, right? And this is where parasites, right? When we talk about like lower, vibrational beings, and malevolent spirits try to ultimately come in at this particular point in time because they are trying to feed and harvest off of that energy because they know that you are running away, okay, from something that is going to propel you to your next stage of evolution, that is going to be something that they can feed off of, right? Because sexual energy is energy that ultimately speaks to life. It creates life. Okay, women's life is it's a portal to another existence. Your yoni, okay, your womb space is very sacred. It's supposed to be a man's safe space, but we're supposed to have the wisdom, right, of who goes into our womb space. Our womb space is very sacred, it's delicate. It literally is a portal. It's not just something to say to make it sound like it's cute. Oh, my yoni's a portal. No, you give life. You have the ability to give life and nurture it, right? And so when women and men, and this is not just on women, are using sexual energy as an escapist tool, now this is something that's stealing your creativity. This is something that is stealing your ability to even manage your emotions and regulations. Everyone is out here. I don't say everyone, I'm gonna cancel that statement, but a lot of people are out here, okay, really trying to escape the traumas that were, imposed upon them, right? And even the traumas that they ran to because they were running away from other evils. I get it. I've done it myself, okay? I'm not judging, but this is something that is very it's very heavy on my heart because I know the effects of when your womb space has been violated, when your sexual energy has been violated. And what these parasites do, what these, malevolent spirits do, they look to feed off of that light. And if women are divine gift is creativity by the creator, right? I mean, all of us have the ability to create and also magnetize as women to us. Those low vibrational entities want that energy. And this is where now we have to change the tides in our bedrooms, right? How we deal with our own emotions. It's up to us to respectfully say, you know what, I have more power and I have more control over the pullings and the desires of my flesh. It doesn't mean that sex isn't a beautiful thing. I want to talk about sexual energy being beautiful when it is done right, when it is done with creative intention, when it is done with a partner that is ultimately pouring into you as you are pouring into them, right? They're not just taking, and leaving you depleted. The next card that came out was childhood. To me, this is speaking to again that light that I was just talking about, but the that innocence, right? That these malevolent spirits are trying to access, they're trying to use as fuel. And there's been a lot of childhood wounding. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go through some egregious trauma. If there was a situation where your mother was saying things and it made it seem as though she was in competition with you, over your beauty instead of uplifting your beauty and saying, hey, you are the most beautiful little girl that I have ever seen. That affects our womb space. See, the world has cultivated experiences where now women are competing against each other instead of telling each other, you are the most beautiful woman to have ever exist and will ever exist. And I tell that to every woman. Well, not every woman, okay? I tell that to myself. But if I'm having conversations with you and this is the topic, I'm going to tell that to this woman. I'm going to tell her, you are the most beautiful woman to have ever walked this planet. I am not in competition with her, nor do I see her as more beautiful than me, right? When we are in our own respective lanes and we see the beauty that we are, we can acknowledge the beauty that another possess, and there's nothing wrong with them seeing themselves as the most beautiful woman, all right, the most handsome man to have ever existed, and to have ever walked the face of this earth, because respectfully we should be looking at purifying all aspects of self and body and beauty, not just physical, because someone can have the physical beauty, but what happens to their spirit? Where is that beauty? Right? And a lot of people look at it from a very surface standpoint, and the system, the so-called matrix, constructs it where, oh, if you don't meet the Kim Kardashian standard or whatever standard it is now, then you're not it. And guess what? It's a bunch of men trying to shape. No, you're unique and your beauty is unique. Your beauty is on you. Now, the next card that came out was the tandem bicycle. I thought that said cycle. Okay. And the tandem cycle is ultimately, see, these are people that have unhealed. This is trauma bonding, right? So people who have this trauma bonding, they're getting in, basically the bicycle, the same, they're getting in the same lane. They keep repeating the same cycles over and over and over, right? With their mate, because both partners have wounding. Both partners haven't taken time to actively heal, right? Those childhood wounds, which now ultimately not only affects the bedroom and the intimate life, but usually they are a product of unhealthy relationships to begin with. I'm not saying everyone on the the face of this planet stems from unhealthy and unloving relationships, but let's look at the majority of it. Most people have not recognized their worth. And in order to truly nurture a child, right, you have to come from someone who is an amazing provider, okay, an amazing man who knows his worth, okay, an amazing woman who knows her worth, who's a nurturer, who knows how to create a safe space at home, okay, a father that knows how to protect, right, someone that is concerned about not only the physical but mental, spiritual, emotional well-being of that child. So you have broken homes in respect, even if they're together. I'm gonna sit here and say, many people are in relationships where they are still physically together, but it's a broken home regardless, because people are not healed in those homes. They're not doing the active healing work. And so then this repeats cycles of broken homes. And it keeps going. And see, the thing is that it's time for us to break those cycles by choosing self. The next card that came out was a Jack and Diane card. Again, speaking to broken heart, speaking to not being fulfilled, speaking to an aspect of a shattered home, a shattered womb. You know, I'm gonna call it the man's light. Pillar. I'm trying to keep things PG for YouTube. All right, okay, all right. We moving on because I'm about to be lost for words. But the point is, okay, that man's light pillar is trying to light up a garden that with much respect has been abandoned. A garden, yes, I'm talking about the oasis, sis, that with much respect has been overrun and it's unkept. The water may not be crystal clear. I'm sure the water isn't crystal clear. And I'm not saying that to be offensive. I mean, look at the trauma that ultimately women with much respect actively go through. I can tell you that I know my waters weren't crystal clear, and that's not, an insult to anyone. It's speaking to the actual trauma that we go through and the things that we have to clean up. See, if you think that your waters is crystal clear and you ain't got no problem in your garden, my dear, I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you move on because this video ain't for you. I'm speaking to those that are being honest with themselves and understand that they've had woundings and how these woundings have affected themselves and also affected the choices in the life that they have, that they've lived and are trying to make a change. I'm speaking to those that realize the mistakes of their forebears and how it's affected them. I'm speaking to those that are realizing that they're having self-worth issues. And that's not something easy to admit. No, it's not. You see, I've asked people before, do you love yourself? And everybody's typical answer is, yeah, I love myself. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be the first one to break it. I mean, I definitely love myself now. I've done a lot of healing work. But at a particular point in time, I didn't. I was so overran by my traumas, my pains, my hurts. I didn't even know who I was. I was struggling every single day to find me. I was struggling every single day to even stay above board, okay, to even stay alive. And I feel there's many in the world that are also a reflective of that dynamic. See, when we talk about healing, healing doesn't happen overnight. Healing is something where there's been a lot of trauma or there's just been darkness there, and you have to flood it with light continuously. Okay, I do affirmations, visualizations, manifestation work, energy work, spiritual baths. I'm giving you a lot of game right here. Y'all need to be taking notes just on the last section of the last 30 seconds. All of it, really. But I'm being honest. It's self love, self worth. Okay. First of all, I look at healing in a very rudimentary way, and I'm gonna give y'all some quick game as well. Okay. It's self acceptance. We have to accept ourselves for where we're currently at, the position that we're at in life. Then we work on forgiveness, forgiving ourselves for the mistakes that we've done. Then we work on our self worth, okay? Realizing that yes, we need to get to a higher and elevated state, right, of how we interact with ourselves and how the world interacts with us. Then we do the self worth, okay? And then we do the self love, right? This is where now we're infusing those woundings, those areas of self with love and light and everything it needs. And this isn't a simple process, right? Then we do the self love and we do the self care, right? This is where you show up for yourself. Now, I say this to say that as simple and as fast as that sounds, it takes years, okay, to achieve a certain state. And it also takes a certain level of sobriety, okay, and even abstinence, right, to reclaim those spaces. And especially if there's been sexual violation, okay, the aspects of, you know, you that went into hiding that are not even in your conscious awareness or afraid to even come up, because if you feel like you let her breathe, then you're not going to be able to stop crying and you're just going to fall down. You need to let her fall. You need to let her breathe. Okay, you need to let her rise to the conscious awareness. When I say fall, it's I have a friend that says the fainting white girl. Okay, allow yourself to be vulnerable. And by the way, the fainting white girl, okay, that's not only exclusive to white girls, all right? But I feel like they're the ones who started it because, ancestrally, melanated folks, okay, as people, okay, that, I may have a white skin tone, but trust me, my soul, my soul is melanated. I'm from the Taino Mayan and Yoruba tribes, just to put it out there, okay? All right. Anyways, so you know, allow yourself to be vulnerable. Allow yourself to ultimately, under say this load is too heavy, creator. Cry. Let those tears wash over you. This is a cleansing moment. And this is going to lead me into the next card that I got here, because the next card is a book burning. Okay. This is where, what I was talking about. This is where things have tried to silence your voice. This is where you're feeling the suffocation. I'm getting kundalini energy, right? Where you're getting extremely hot. You're getting, overwhelmed. This is an aspect of kind of where people do destructive things because they're trying to destroy a narrative that has not served them. And this stage can be very dangerous when you are in a place and it can be so overwhelming that you start acting impulsive, right? And you start making decisions where still the trauma signature there, but you're trying to burn it all to the ground. I've been there, okay? This has caused me to have multiple attempts in the past of trying to take my life. And I know I'm joking, in this video because I feel like it's a lot, it's a hard topic, right? So I'm trying to keep it a little light. Um, it allows people, I don't want to say allows, it usually drives people to make escapist choices, right? Whether it's, getting into, to any type of addiction, whether it's getting into, over sexualization, right? Again, constant like chronic masturbation or whatever it is for a release, right? Um, this is this is not how you want to deal with these energies. For me, I've gone through a lot of trauma, y'all, with men in the past, and for me, it played out in multiple ways, and it's too heavy and it's too much for one video. I ain't got the time. Um, the next card that came out is Bonfire. So to me, this is a a union with the divine. To me, this is an aspect where you're working with the divine to purify what doesn't belong there. Okay, so this is, through rituals, through energy maintenance. This is where, you're working with ancestral sacred mothers, where you're allowing yourself to cry, when you're allowing yourself to scream, where you're going to hug a tree, where you're, collapsed on your couch, with a teddy bear, specifically, an octopus, pink octopus that's named Umiko. That was one of my situations. Okay. Oh my God, that card was amazing. This is where you start again to really do the deep self worth, right? Because especially when you've gone through any type of sexual trauma, right? This usually it. God, there's so much to say about sexual trauma. It destroys certain aspects of you. It makes you go into hiding. It makes you feel like you're not worthy. It makes you feel like you're not good enough. It makes you feel like you don't have access to your own body or control over your own body. It makes you feel, despair. It makes you feel worthless, and you're not, and you have every right to your own body. You have every right to tell someone, I want to be intimate with you. I don't want to be intimate with you. Okay. You have every right, you know, um, to feel worthy of life. You have every right to not worry about if another sexual violation is around the fucking corner. Excuse my language. Or maybe not. Okay? Because I think we need to be real honest about how, these acts wind up affecting women and how it can derail the course of somebody's life. Anyways, moving on. After the healing, with the divine, and it's again, this is a year process, but of course there's, I don't say a year process, it can take years. There is again like the sunflower. So you start, to me, this is where you start to feel like yourself again. This is where you start to actively come into aspects of yourself that went into hiding. And this is going to come up little by little. You're going to feel like you can breathe, for a bit, and tears are going to come, and it's going to be a back and forth in this journey, right? But it starts to get lighter. You start to actively bloom in this healing process. And in this healing process, you start to make wiser decisions. You're not making the decisions of the past where now you're getting in tandem with someone who is also, bounded to their trauma. You start setting your standards. Now, I'm not saying that you got into where you want to be at this point. Okay? So, I, I want to sit here and say this is where you might start feeling creative again, right? But, uh, sorry, I'm trying to get the other cards so I don't, keep going like this to the camera. This is where you start to feel creative again. You start to kind of come into your spark of life, you know? And again, this doesn't mean that, the desires to use escape, excuse me, use escape, cancel that, use sexual energy, sexual force energy, you know, as a release tool. Again, this is where now you're in this process of unbecoming that trauma version of self. And so now you're seeing the sun come out. You're allowing yourself to be blessed. You're allowing yourself to cater to the sunflower, essentially the seeds that you're planting. You're allowing them to be watered. And the next card that came out was olive branch. I feel like this is the divine, once you've gone through your healing phase, is an olive branch to now take that energy and no longer use sex as an escapist mechanism to process with your emotions, to process your emotions. This is an aspect where now you're being invited to show up in the world as a version of self that has been reborn, has been remade new despite your story. Guess what? Your story is God's glory. That's what I always say. Okay, this beautiful transformation. And now you are making wise decisions with your partner. You understand and partner, because I'm gonna say it's only gonna be one, okay? You understand how sacred the womb space is. You understand um, the portal of your existence. You understand the portal of life. You understand that the energy that you've been using for, you know, uh, emotional regulation, now you can use to create the life that you've always desired. And so that this is an olive branch about the divine. Are you willing to dream again? And this is it. I know I'm speaking mostly to women, but men tap into the message as well too. Make wiser decisions. I want to sit here and say, because a lot of men are guided by their eyes, and they allow their light pillar to make decisions based off of the physical and not off of the spirit of someone, right? And women, we've done it too, right? But at the end of the day, what I'm speaking to is, you judge someone based off of their spirit. You judge someone based off of what they're showing you, okay? In truth, not someone who's trying to show you something and manipulate you. What someone is showing you in truth, okay? And in that, you begin to be the pioneer, okay? Because we've been living in an era where it's fast food, drive through, sex, everything, all of that. And there's no actual value. We are returning to an era, okay? I guess a new era, even though we've had it before, of, I'm trying to think of the word, y'all. Like, I'm so lost. Um, Basically, okay, decency, okay, value, self worth, where promiscuity is not a thing, okay, where people are making better choices and their partners. And you get to pioneer that. And as I said that was 23 minutes and 33 seconds. You get to pioneer that. And it's not easy, but guess what? This is going to affect your daughters, your sons, okay, descendants, and so forth. And they're going to be able to make wiser decisions with the partners that they make. Because guess what? Mama and Papa poured love into me. They poured so much love into me that I have self worth and self value, and I know who I am. Don't you want to pioneer that? Don't you want to pioneer the creativity of the descendants of the future generations? Don't you want to set the standard so high that they have no choice but to exceed it? Because it's like, man, this is the baseline my mama set. This is the baseline that my daddy set. And guess what? You become the pillars. We become. Okay, because I'm going to say we, because I know I'm doing the work. We become the foundation for these new generations that are going to be rising up. Okay? They can rest their decisions on our shoulders because we helped them make the right decisions. We poured unconditional love into them. We poured self love into them. We poured into them self worth, self forgiveness, self acceptance, self care. We poured into them all the light that we possibly could. We were examples of true love. And yes, it could be true love with a mate, but first and foremost, true love and respect for self. Going after a relationship with God. Oh, and I'm not talking about no religious sense. I'm not talking about no church or covenant. I'm talking about a personal relationship with the Creator, the all that it's all. Yo, as a shaman, my place of worship is in my own vessel. It's how I take care of me. It's what I pour into my mind, my body, and my spirit, what I consume. Ooh, y'all, I'm giving y'all so much game today. And ooh, I'm gonna just keep going because I feel like I remember when the ancestors told me, they were like, the way you worship, there was like, it is tending to yourself. It is, getting up, getting the crusties out your eyes. I actually had a little crust right there in my bed, y'all. I thought I got it out fully. The crust out your eyes, wash your face, put your hair up. If it's washed, let it out. I gotta wash it tonight in my spiritual bath. So I'm so cute. Okay, getting dressed, brushing your teeth, making sure you bathe daily. Okay, and just because you smell good don't mean you clean. Okay, because I don't use all that artificial stuff. All right, I care about the chemicals that go in my body. I try to keep everything natural. Are you drinking water? Are you moving? Are you giving life to your vessel? Are you making sure that your vessel is going to stand the test of time? Are you pouring things into your mental, into your mind that are going to allow you to grow and flourish? Are you allowing your spirit to be free? Are you allowing energy healing to happen through frequencies? Are you working with affirmations? Y'all, I love the divine. I love my God. And I love me. I love me. The silly aspects of me. I am a fine 36-year-old. That's turning 37. And I'm going to just keep getting younger, but wiser. And I am setting the standard for my daughters and those around me and the bloodline. Are you willing to set the standards for your bloodline, for your neighbor, for your friends? Are you willing to be an example? Are you willing to allow your story to be God's glory? Because guess what? I'm going to sit here and tell you that someone may look like they've never dabbled in degradation, and they've probably been in more degradation than you can even imagine. And my dear, that is God's glory. When someone's been through such hardship and it doesn't even look like they were touched at all by the devil, when it felt like the devil had them in their grasp and it was over. But God said, come here, this is mine. Come here. This one's anointed. This one's blessed. This one's protected. You can't have her. That's my story. Anyways, I'm hoping it will also be your story. And yeah, I that's it, folks. Have a good one.